Hello and welcome. Glad you made it. We are right on time. 7:07. Oh, right when I look up, it says 7:08. So it is a minute later than I said it would be. I'm gonna just ask you to deal with that. Um,
Sorry.
if anyone wants to share where you're from, if you just type in the chat box there, it'll give us your name as long as you put your name in there, and you can tell us where you're from. It's always fun to see where everybody is coming to us from. We are at the River Valley Center for Healing. Said it right. And I want to thank Nora Ramirez Dykema for hosting me here. It's been one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. It's been really awesome here, both doing workshops with Nora, helping her with hers, her helping me with mine, but also just vacationing and goofing off. We got to spend some time on Lake Ouachita. I got to captain a party barge. Thank you for that. So lots of fun times while we've been here. Oh wow, Boone Tiki, Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. That's an interesting name. I like that. I like your name and the name of where you're from. Joy made it. Tim made it. Welcome, you guys. So to give a brief introduction to what we're going to be doing, the name of tonight's class is called 10 Second Ceremonies, the secret to forgiveness and inner peace. And I want everyone to know right off the bat, I am not claiming to have inner peace all the time, but I have been there. I've visited, and I visit there often. So I have some techniques that I've come up with. I'm not claiming they'll be right for you, and I'm hoping that you don't believe anything I say here tonight. I hope you are at least open enough minded to take it in and take it on as a possible truth down the line. One of the things I like to say is, if you can suspend your disbelief and open your mind enough to just take on a new concept. If it feels totally wrong to you, throw it away. But if it feels like it could be true, but part of your brain is saying, I don't know, that part of your brain could be subconscious programming. And so what I'm going to offer tonight is for you to just open your mind to trying on some new things and trying on some new ideas and concepts. And then at the end of the night, if you want to throw everything away, that's fine. If you want to just keep one or two things, that's fine. But we'll be able to try on some things if we can keep an open mind. And also, if you want to keep a closed mind complete throughout the entire class tonight, that's okay too. You can close off your mind and not take in anything I say, and that works too. There's no wrong way to do it. And actually, one of the greatest things we're going to talk about tonight is wrong and the belief in wrong and the inner peace you can get from releasing wrongs. That's a little precursor into what we're going to get into later. I will request, since it's early on, if you can have some pad and paper handy. That is going to be valuable later, not completely necessary, but it would be nice if you can have pad and paper. And I already talked about suspending disbelief, so if we can just be willing to play at a level of open-mindedness and suspend our disbelief and just let go for a couple hours and be in a peaceful place, safe place, and put on some new ideas that are going to feel a little wonky at first. So that's enough introduction. We're going to dive right in. If anyone does have some things they want to cover or have some things they're confused about or worried about or have anxiety about, I doubt that you'd be on this class if that's the case, but please share those with us now, and I'll see if we can address them. And you can feel free to type. I think Pilar is going to be on the live chat tonight, but if she's not, you guys can just chat with amongst each other, and I'll be tuning into the chat from time to time. But not as much as I did on the other class. This is going to be a lot more of a focus and moving in a certain path, so we're not going to be doing the live chat as much. Margie made it on. Welcome, Margie. I know you had some trouble getting on, so I'm glad you made it. Okay, so we're going to talk about this Age of Aquarius and the age of enlightenment, the awakening, all the different names they have for it. It's an age of collaboration. It's an age of coming together. And the way I love to put it is our Creator created a space where there was love in all directions. And this is, our Creator always creates from love. And it's a little bit difficult to look around in this current universe and see love in all directions. But I can promise you it is possible. And what I believe happened, and this is where I'm going to ask you to suspend your belief, your disbelief, suspend your belief. That's even better. is at a certain point, there was only a certain amount of expansion that can happen with a planet full of love in all directions and peace in all directions. And at a certain point, we as a collective, as co-creators of this entire experience, decided to forget that we were connected to our creator, decided to forget that we're connected to our source. So we, on purpose, as a collective, went into the darkness. And why would we choose that? Well, the best way I could put that in the most simple way is it's really fun to become enlightened from the darkness. Why would we put ourselves to sleep? Because awakening is a whole lot of fun, and it just it's such a powerful time on this planet because the whole planet is waking up, and this is an experience that we're all getting to go through together to wake up a planet. I mean, it's not often galactically that you have the opportunity to wake up a planet and transform a planet from third dimension to fifth dimension and then beyond. And a lot of people are already living in fifth dimension. So this is a really beautiful time to be in this space and to be on this planet. And so I do believe that we're all cut from the same cord. You know, we all came from the same source, and so we're all connected literally. I'm a chemical engineer, a scientist, so I had to prove that to myself. Nassim Haramein is the guy that I found that proved to me that everything was connected, and then that sort of opened up some wormholes and had me realizing that, holy smokes, like this whole oneness concept is scientifically proven, at least from my science. Like to my satisfaction, I've proven that we are literally all connected and we are literally all one being. You know, so each of us have our own being, and then inside of us is all of these cells that have their own consciousness, and that's also proven too. And so these little cells are sitting around talking to each other like, hey, I wonder if there's a bigger being. There's got to be a God creating all of this, right? And so to a certain degree, we are the God of our cells, right? And then so you go to a deeper level, and then if you want to go down, let's go down one more step before we go up. If you want to go down, the electrons are circling around these little atoms, right? And these atoms are creating molecules, and these molecules are creating amino acids, and these amino acids are creating proteins, and then they're creating DNA structure, and then the DNA is made of all these different cells, and so we have beings inside of beings inside of beings inside of beings, and consciousness inside of consciousness inside of consciousness inside of consciousness. And we can take a hadron collector and throw the smallest things we have that we found on this planet as fast as we can in this huge distance, for those that know the Hadron Collider in Europe, and spin it around and slam it into a wall, and what do we get? More small stuff. And we're not finding the God particle, and in my opinion, we never will. There's an infinity of the small, just as there's an infinity of the big. We'll never find how big the universe is, and we'll never find the God particle. That's the one particle that created it all, because anytime you find that particle, I can promise you'll be able to split it into smaller parts and redefine it. And so we are literally a being inside of a being inside of a being. So moving upwards, we have the being of Earth, right? And all of these cells on Earth are all of Earth's little cells. You know, the 7 billion humans on the planet are Earth cells. And Earth gets to experience all the emotions that we're experiencing. And I think this whole talk tonight is about wrong and not believing in wrong. So I certainly don't think it's wrong that people believe that Earth is hating this experience, or Earth is miserable, or Earth is thinking that humans are wrong. I don't feel that way personally. I feel that Earth is a very, very high-level consciousness, and I don't believe that Earth really has the belief in wrong. I believe that Earth is loving every single moment of this, and loving the fact that it has all of us on this planet, and the fact that we're all merging together, and our little dreams and our realities are all clicking together, and we're all getting the exact lesson that we desire from the opposite side of each mirror that we run into. And so I think it's a very beautiful space, and I don't think Earth's in a bind. I don't think we need to save the planet. I think that humans have a tendency to suffer for other things. We suffer for animals. We even suffer for plants. We suffer for the earth. And in my experience, I don't know that that the trees are suffering. I don't know that Earth is suffering. I think that's a human thing that we've created, that we choose to suffer for other beings. And if we can choose to not do that and just focus on our own happiness and joy, it can be a complete and total upgrade and shift so many things for us. So it's a beautiful space to come from, to not take on other things' suffering. Because the way I look at it, and Robert Stevens talks about this in Conscious Language, is when we send sympathy or pity to someone else, like let's say a homeless person that we pass, or even a tree that's getting cut down that we don't believe should be cut down, if we send pity and sympathy to it, it's not a positive emotion. So when we see someone homeless, what I would offer is to send them love, vote their victory in the light. Like when we send a negative emotion to someone, we're not helping them. And so for us, when we get stuck in our own story and telling our own story about how awful we have it and how bad we have it and everyone should listen to me, my story is worse than your story, we get addicted to the sympathy and get addicted to the pity. And there's nothing wrong with that. I don't believe it's wrong. It's just an area that we can shift and really change our experience of this planet and really have more enjoyment by just changing our story. It's the most simple thing in the world. Change your story, change your life. I'm a big Dr. Bruce Lipton fan from the Biology of Belief, and he talks about the instant you change your beliefs, you change your cellular physiology. Like things change in your body the instant you change your beliefs. And we talked a lot on Wednesday about how our thoughts create our reality and we're creating molecules, and so that's not so much what tonight's about, but that's just something we're kind of touching on. So as we move up from the Earth, which has its 7 billion cells that we call human beings, that it's connected to and feeling the emotional, ups and downs from all these beings and getting enjoyment out of all that, in my opinion. In my opinion, Gaia, Mother Earth, is getting enjoyment out of this. Well, and before I go bigger than Earth, I want to mention that I also believe that all 7 billion humans on this planet are badasses. And when I say badasses, like ascended masters. From a soul perspective, you would not have chosen this planet at this time if you weren't complete and total master. It's like they had a big billboard up in the heavens and it said, advanced level workshop, all emotions experienced. If you don't experience enough emotions, you will feel other people around you experiencing emotions. You will feel every emotion. You will feel suffering. You will have, people that you care about, love, and that you really are attracted to and addicted to being around. They will die, and you won't even know that you were connected to them, and you can reconnect on another dimension. You will be fooled into thinking that you did not create this experience and you are not connected to God. You will be fooled into thinking that you are on your own and you are, in your own little bucket and you're not source and you're not co-creating this experience. And everybody's like, no way, come on. There's no way a workshop could do that. How would they make me forget all this stuff? And you're like, I'm in, sign me up. So like that's the way I see it. And I'm sure that's not how it happened, but exactly, I'm sure that's not exactly how it happened. But to some degree, remember I started this class with what if, let's suspend our disbelief and what if that is how it happened? What if we did sign up for this? And what if we did say, yes, I'm a galactic badass and I choose Earth 2012, 2014, 2015. Like, yeah, I'm down. And I know it's going to be intense and bring it, The people that are here on this planet right now are the same type of people that would say, you want to ride a roller coaster? Hell yeah, I want to ride a roller coaster. You want to sit in the front? Hell yeah, I want to sit in the front. And so we're kind of blazing the trail for this planet, and we're, transforming this planet into a better and more beautiful space as we filter these negative emotions and move through all this muck and clear all this junk that we're clearing on this planet. We're just kind of blazing the trail. We're sitting in the front of a roller coaster with a machete blazing a trail through. And so, does anyone know why you sit in the front of a roller coaster? What's the benefit for those roller coaster riders? Anyone know? You should get this one.
The wind on your face.
Wind on your face? That's good. Yeah, you get wind on your face too. You don't get vomited on when you're in the front. See? You don't get vomited on. The people behind us have to deal with all the stuff that comes from behind us. Welcome, Pilar. I'm glad you made it to handle the live chat. Everyone says hello. To get scared the most. That's a good one. And see, that's just an answer of an average human on the planet. Like, we want to be scared. We intentionally scare the crap out of each other all the time with movies and with emotional stuff. Like, we are scaring each other all the time because the same reasons. We signed up for this kind of wild ride, and that's what we dig. So, why we're here. Okay, so so I've talked about oneness and the science of oneness, and so, in my opinion, if we can all get lessons from all of our interactions with other people and all of our relationships, and you and I may have some big, arduous kind of fight, and on this side of it you're getting this lesson, and on this side of it I'm getting this lesson, and each time that happens we're all getting the lesson that we needed. How would that be possible if we weren't all connected? And if you look at it, well, how can you prove it's connected? Well, if you want to disprove it's connected, go out and get your hands read, and by Nora Dykema, go out and do an astrology reading, get a Mayan calendar reading, look up your numerology chart, and you tell me if those don't tell you exactly what your life lessons are, exactly what you're here on this planet. And I would almost guarantee, I'm not going to guarantee anything, but I would almost guarantee that you're going to see alignment in there. And you're going to see that when you add up all your experiences so far, and then you look at your life purpose and life lesson through your hands and your numerology and your astrology and all these different things that are all coincidentally pointing to the same lessons, and this life that you've led and these relationships that you've had have also given you coincidentally these same lessons, at some point you have to say, wait a second, this is synchronistic, not coincidental. There is a synchronicity here that it's hard to deny. And I came into metaphysics to disprove it. I'm not going to lie to you. I started studying metaphysics because I wanted to be smart enough to disprove it and call BS on all this stuff. And I have disproven some of it. There's some things that I'll look into and say, there's no validity to that. I don't see the connections. And when I look at it now, saying that now, I could probably look back and figure out that there is a connection, because there's a connection between everything. And that was part of my resistance and part of my skepticism, tainting my results. Because as in science, everything that we study and everything that we think actually changes the results. There's atomic proof of this now. Like, as we believe an experiment is going to go a certain way, the experiment is tainted by that belief. They've proven this over and over again, and it's fascinating. Again, proves that we're all connected. And so, did you have a comment?
Me?
Yeah.
No,
I saw that.
I was just like nodding. Just the power of thought.
Yeah. And so, so coming back to the being inside of a being inside of a being, which is a new hit song I have coming out, by the way. I'm a being inside a being. Okay, that's later. So the Earth being that is Gaia, that has 7 billion human receptors, and then it's got dog receptors and ant receptors and all these different receptors and ways it collects information. And then we go into the bigger being, which is our sun, which is a black hole. It's now proven that every proton is a black hole. In my opinion, this is not some Haramine stuff, by the way. We are a black hole, ourselves, humans. The sun is a black hole. The Earth is a black hole. Solar system has its own black hole. So we keep going into bigger and bigger beings. The sun is a bigger being, and then the solar system is a bigger being, and then the Milky Way galaxy is a bigger being, and then the Milky Way galaxy is actually a blood cell in a really bigger being that we call the universe. And we don't know the extent, we don't know the end of it, and I don't know that there is an end of it. It's my belief that there isn't. But the point is, we're all connected, and it's going up exponentially in all directions. And on this planet, as we interact with others, there are mirrors that we can see for ourselves. And if anyone wants to really dig into this, there's a video by Greg Braden called The 7 Mirrors of a Scene. Super, super powerful video, and it talks about the different mirrors that we experience through life. But we're going to go through some of those mirrors and do some 10-second ceremonies as promised. That'll get us knee deep into some of these mirrors and help us to see what we may have not been seeing before. Those are handouts from Wednesday night, by the way, if you're looking to connect. Okay, and so where I'm going to take this next is I'm not telling you to do this, so I'm going to use me and I. I have decided, for me, to end my spiritual journey. To some people, like, what? You're going to end your spiritual journey? Yes. I have decided to end my spiritual journey because the concept of a journey means that I'm not there yet. It means that I haven't arrived. And it means that in gambling, they call it betting on the come. Like I'm wanting my life to be different down the road, so I'm on a journey there. And the universe doesn't understand anything but the now. So we talked about this on Wednesday. So if I'm saying my life is going to be better soon, the universe will give me exactly that. And I will have better soon right now. I'll get to experience my life will be better soon, which means it's not better now, right now. So when we believe that something is coming, it's impossible for us to experience it in the now because the universe only knows the now. And so it's very interesting when you look at it from 360 degrees, because there's a concept about time, and that time doesn't exist, right? And so that there is only one now, and that all we're experiencing is a linear progression through a perception. That's the best one sentence I could give it. We're experiencing a linear progression through a perception. Like as we look at something and as we focus something, we go through this opening of whatever we're looking at, whatever we're focusing on, but we're really only experiencing the now in different nows as we move through it, if that makes sense. And so it's very critical if you're looking to manifest or looking to use law of attraction to get that I am who I want to be right now, and I am having the experience that I choose in the moment right now. Because anytime we use words like want, to want is to desire without having. You know, our words like it's coming, my wealth is coming, my beloved is coming, my boat is coming, then the universe is going to deliver us just that. The universe is a very specific postal delivery system. So it's going to deliver us coming, which means it's not here. And so that's just a language thing and about being careful with language. But I mention that because I want to talk about ending the spiritual path for me, and I'm not asking you to end yours, but for me, it was like I had become a seeker. It was like, well, when I just get this missing piece of information, I'm so close. You know, I'm just missing a few more pieces of information, and I will have the puzzle put together, and then I can live my life happily. You know, and then at a certain point, it was maybe 4 to 6 months ago, I just started saying, you know what? I have all the information I need. And it doesn't mean I collected all the information. It meant I finally realized that I would never be able to collect all the information. The universe is too complex. You know, it's like when I worked as a troubleshooter for a refinery, one of the old timers told me one time, you will never ever learn everything there is to know about even one part of one unit. So why try? You know, learn the overview and find the people that are smarter than you and trust their knowledge. But I just all of a sudden got a few months ago that I don't need to know anything else to live a happy life. And so I can choose my joy and choose my happiness in the now and not be on a journey to a happiness. And the other reason I talk about ending the journey is it's kind of, you know, I'm kind of saying this tongue in cheek, because really they say, well, oh, when did your path start? When did you awaken? When did you start your spiritual path? Well, it's my belief, I know it's Pilar's belief too, that we're always on a spiritual path. Like, you can't escape a spiritual path. And everyone is on a spiritual path. And the people that you think, oh, well, not that person, that soul is on a much deeper spiritual path than you could probably ever imagine. You know, if they're really in a negative space or they're experiencing their own hell on earth, like, that's an advanced soul that chose a really advanced lesson, and they're getting that lesson. And so there's nothing wrong here. There's no problem here. And so as we take a look around the planet, if we can really start to let go of the belief that there's something wrong here, and we're going to talk about this a little bit more later as well, it can really give us some new insights and some new inner peace that, to me, is the only inner peace I've discovered. And trust me, I've studied a lot of different techniques. It's the only true inner peace I've found is by releasing the wrong. And so we're going to get into that technique later when we get into 10 Second Ceremonies. So expanding on the ending the journey, you know, the other part of that is to realize that we are all perfect and healed now. You know, it's great to have healers, because healers are great at reminding us that we are already healed. That's why healers are very valuable right now. It's because we go to a healer and they remind us that we're awesome and that we're perfect and that we're already healed, and they help our bodies to feel the way it feels to be perfectly healed. And once we get into that space, it's easier to get back into that space. But like Pilar says right here, there's nothing wrong here. The only thing wrong is the belief in wrong, and even that ain't wrong. So, when we start to step into that new reality of there's nothing on the planet that's actually wrong, it's just a bunch of souls getting the exact lessons that they chose. Exactly as not I shouldn't say exactly as they draw it up, but they're getting the exact lessons that they chose. They may not be getting them the way they thought they would get them, but they chose the lessons and they're getting the lessons. And it's a beautiful thing because all the souls chose the lessons and they're all matched up with each other. If you chose, if I chose to have a lesson of how it feels to disrespect another human and have some guilt over that, I may be a slave owner. And if you chose to, you know, experience freedom, you may choose to come in as a slave. Why would we do that? Why is it that way that if you want freedom you would come in as a slave? Well, the human race, in my opinion, has chosen to learn things up until now, and that's changed. This is changing coming into the new reality. We've chosen to learn things from contrast. We chose to experience war so that we could have a strong desire for peace. We chose to experience in slavery as a race, as a people, so that we could realize that that was wrong, or that was not, see, I use the word wrong, but that was not what we wanted to experience, so we chose freedom instead. So Franco de Nicola talks about it as the reverse matrix. And there was actually a shift in the matrix many, many moons ago, and there was a decision by humans to learn from this contrast. And this was part of our decision to disconnect from our source, disconnect from God, disconnect from realizing we were part of God so that we could have a more rich experience, and realize that this is all a part of a master plan, and we get to put it together in our heads. Each one of us gets to find our own truth and put our own truth together in our heads and create a reality that now becomes our truth and becomes our reality. And it's independent of anyone else's reality, and no one's perception is wrong. Everyone's perception is rich and valuable and unique and creative, or we wouldn't be here. Like Bashar says, if you're wondering if your existence is needed on this planet, lay down and tell God to take you away if your perception is not valuable. And if you're still laying there 10 seconds later, congratulations, your perception is valuable and very needed on this planet. So that's just one way to look at it. And again, I'm asking you to just suspend your disbelief and try these thoughts on. I'm not telling you to take it as fact or truth. It's just my crazy brain talking. But this is your crazy brain listening because you chose to tune in. So I appreciate you for that. Pilar just said it's about appreciation. And it is. So let's start with let's start with some 10-second ceremonies to help us to understand our contrast and the way that we learn. And so if you have pen and paper, that would be great. If you don't, it's all right. You can remember this stuff. So we're going to start by selecting someone that irritates you the most on this planet. A person, preferably. Could be a dog, cat. Could be something like that. So who irritates you the most at this current moment? This is a technique you can use again and again later. So we're going to take 10 seconds, eyes closed preferably, not necessary. We're going to take 10 seconds and think of that person and just focus on them for 10 seconds. Okay, great. So that may have been, I guess that was different for everybody by definition. Everyone's perception was different. I was going to say that may have been tough for some of us to think of that person for 10 seconds, but it's okay. It's all going to make sense as we go through this. So now we're going to think of what irritates us about that person, and that may have been the last 10 seconds as well, but we're going to do specifically what irritates us about that person for 10 seconds. Go. All right, great. So now we're going to move into what would we change about that person in terms of if we could give them some advice that they would take. And this is the collective consciousness is going to help us out with this one. We're going to give them some very general advice on what we'd like for them to, well, what advice we would like to give them in general advice, like not stop smoking or stop going to bingo every Saturday night, like very general advice. We're going to focus on that for 10 seconds now. All right. Excellent. Now, if you have pad and paper, if you can write down that advice on your pad and paper, that would be helpful. And so the reason we did this experiment, this technique, is to show us that everything is a mirror. And so what I would like for you to do now is try that advice out on yourself. And you tell me, I'd love for some comments here from the live stream. You tell me if this advice makes sense for you. And what I'm going to offer is that most often, maybe not always, but most often this advice is going to be for us. And the reality is, if we had already taken this advice to the fullest degree, then this portion of what irritates us about this person would not irritate us anymore. It's a very interesting way to find out what is irritating about ourselves, because everything is a reflection. And again, this is my truth, not universal. Take your own truth, but everything is everything is a reflection of what's inside of us. So everything that we're seeing, everything that we're judging, and everything that we're appreciating is a reflection of us. If we're really in a depressed state and we're really, sad all the time and we don't have much joy and happiness in our lives, we're not going to look at other people and say, oh my God, that person is so beautiful and they're so loving. So it goes both ways. It's not just what we judge. What we see in others is literally what we see in ourselves. And when I say literally, like what I'm offering here as something to try on is that these people that we're seeing in our experience are literally other parts of ourselves. They're other parts of God. We are all God. We are all creations of the Creator. And so we're literally looking at ourselves and we're pushing our own buttons when we're irritating each other, and we're nurturing each other and loving each other and reminding each other of God's love when we love each other. But there's always a mirror, there's always a reflection of what's inside of us with our interactions. And so if you want to know what your degree of self-love is, how are your friends treating you? How is your family treating you? Because it's my experience that if they're giving you a lot of grief, well, what is the grief for? What are they giving you grief about? And look at what they're actually telling you and tell me if there's not something that you could actually heal there. Something that you could actually look at and heal. Because what I'm going to offer is, if you had that healed, it wouldn't push your button. They may tell you that, but it's just going to float right over your head. The reason it's pushing our button is because there's a button there for them to push. And the button usually was put there before the age of 8. Remember cough and conscious in Sacred Body Language Translation, change in direction. Change in direction. So the button was put there before the age of 8, and it usually has nothing to do with the person pushing the button, other than that they pushed it. But the reason that it charges us, the reason that I get charged up when you irritate me in that way, is because of something that happened in my childhood that I'm still holding on to and I haven't let go of. And when you push that button, I feel that pain. So the opportunity here is to release that pain. In this exercise we just went through, you can do it with all the irritations in your life and see how those irritations are just your stuff. And here's a neat one for teachers. I think we have all teachers in the room. For spiritual teachers, educational teachers, all types of teachers. If we're teaching something as a job and a career, it may be a little bit different. But if we have something we just have to share with the earth, like if we just have to share this message. This is my message to deliver to the earth, whether it be from music or even art or a spiritual message. Guess who that message is really for? You know, it doesn't mean that it can't help other people. Not at all. It can totally help other people in many ways. And that's why I'm doing this webinar, inviting all of you on. But I'm going to watch this webinar and hope that I get it, because these are the things. So if I have a message I want to deliver to the planet, this is my message. This is my stuff. This is my stuff that I haven't quite dealt with or, you know, gotten over, or I wouldn't have this strong desire to share this information. And I'll tell you guys straight up, I don't get this stuff to a huge, deep level. I'm studying this stuff. I'm trying it on. It's like a new pair of pants, you know. I'm just giving it a go. And I love it. So I wanted to share it with y'all, and I wanted to get feedback from you and see if this works for you. And so if anyone can give me some feedback on whether the advice was appropriate, or do y'all have any feedback on whether the advice, I know you had done it with me before. Did you have a different?
I'd say that it was appropriate for me maybe a few years ago, but not now.
Okay, good. And so because time doesn't exist, it was one of your lessons in this lifetime.
Sure.
Yeah. And so, but so what, does the irritation still irritate you?
Yes.
Okay. So what I'm going to offer is there's still something there. There's still a button to press that's being pressed.
Sure.
And so, you know, there's still something to look at on why we have that button. And one of the, I'm big on visuals and I'm big on techniques. One of the visuals that I love, we did it the other night, but for those that are new on the call, it's the huge check. I'm doing it like this so y'all can see it, but I actually visualize mine about this big. The huge check we picture, and then we write on it, power over my emotions. And then when someone else is trying to take power over our emotions, we get to decide whether to give them our check or not. We get to decide whether to give the power of our emotions to someone else and let them have it. You know, and this reminds me, I gave this on Wednesday night too, but a great quote by a friend of mine named William Lynch, I irritate me when you do that. You know, it's really powerful statement. I irritate me when you do that because I have the power over my emotions. And this is good news. The fact that we create all of our reality and the fact that we are responsible for all of our experience and all of our perception is really good news. The scary news would be that we are gambling down here and who knows who's going to come into our reality and change all of our emotional state and shift all of our happiness and take away our joy. That's scary. The fact that we create all of this and everything is a reflection of what's inside, that's beautiful. That's good news. That means we can choose joy and happiness and figure out how to not have the other things in our life, you know? Pilar is saying she's a biatch. Great feedback, Pilar. Just so on point. Margie says, yes, you know how quickly this worked for me, and it totally clicked. Awesome. Yeah, me and Margie did this technique before. Boon Tiki says, you already have conquered it, but you haven't. Oh, it jumped. You haven't realized it yet. Okay, I can get that. Guess I need more peace in my life. Yeah, we all need more peace in our life, right? Or we choose more peace in our life would be the conscious language way to say that. My issue, and Margie's saying, my issue was to accept myself, the things in the other person that upset me to the point of becoming mad were the exact things I was not accepting in myself. Beautiful. And that's the realization that I love it when people can get from this exercise. Did you have any comments on that, Peter?
Not right now.
Okay. Excellent. So, hold on. I'm drinking my water with shungite thanks to Nora, who gave me some shungite. We read about shungite Wednesday night, so if you want to learn about shungite, check out Wednesday night's class. Okay, so staying in the 10-second ceremonies for now, we're gonna do another 10-second ceremony, and we talked on Wednesday night about how when you're having an emotion that you're experiencing more of than you would like, let's say frustration, anxiety. I'm not gonna say grief because that's a little bit different. I'm gonna put grief in a different category for now. Especially if it's grief over death. We don't want to speed that up. We want to experience that. But anything you don't want to experience, overwhelm, sadness, depression, you can do a 3-minute timed ceremony with it and just stay in that emotion for 3 minutes and set the alarm and do it for 3 minutes. Now, I'm always looking for life hacks. I want to make everything faster, and I'm a big believer that there's not a big need to work on ourselves for great periods of time. Now, I do believe that we can always upgrade and we can always get better and better and better, and we could always be improving ourselves, and that's very valuable. But it doesn't mean we need to work on ourselves. And I'm using that word need on purpose here. I know it's not conscious language. I'm using it on purpose. I don't believe we need to work on ourselves. We can choose to get better and better and better and always upgrade. But when we think we need to work on ourselves, it's telling ourselves that we're not perfect and we're not healed right now. And since the universe only knows now, then we're telling our being that we're broken and that we need to be fixed. And so that's exactly what we're going to experience from a cellular level. So we can get sick from that belief that we need to fix ourselves. Our body's going to break ourselves. Literally, it's that our cells are going to say, wait, we're not complete, we're not whole, we're not perfect. Well, here's some symptoms, here's some ailments. So this is a really powerful way to go through that, is to allow these emotions to feel whatever we're going to feel. And so instead of 3 minutes, we're going to do 10 seconds. So if everyone can pick an emotion that they're experiencing more than they would like, we're just going to do a 10-second ceremony, and you're just going to, every second of the 10 seconds, you're going to amplify that feeling. We're going to amplify it and amplify it and amplify it, and then we'll do a 10-second ceremony to let it go. All right, let's start now. All right. And so that wasn't necessarily fun for everyone. But if you noticed, your brain was trying to take you away from it. Did you notice that? We were only doing that for 10 seconds, and your brain probably tried to take you away from it 3 or 4 times, and you had to keep bringing it back. That was your subconscious belief systems and programming coming onto you, like becoming aware of what you're trying to do, and it's trying to kick you out. You'll experience that a lot more when you do the 3-minute portion, which we're not going to do tonight. But you'll experience it a lot more then. But it's basically our ego and our subconscious getting on to what we're doing, and it's trying to kick us off. And this is silly. I don't have time for this. And it's trying to take us to other subjects, and you just keep focusing on that. So we let that amplify, and we let that sit with us, and we realize, like, that's not something I really want to experience that much. So when you do the 3 minutes or even the 10 seconds of it, if you're really in a hurry, you can experience it and allow the feeling, and then let it go. And by the way, the 3-minute ceremony is part of Helen Ray's stuff, R-A-C-Z. She's one of my favorite healers on the planet. She lives in Houston. You can look her up. I know Pilar's saying yuck. We're going to let it go in a moment, Pilar. So this is one of the techniques to let it go. We're going to, I'm going to choose overwhelm. That's actually one of the ones I've dealt with, and I've been using this ceremony to help me with my overwhelm, because I have a lot going on, and I get all these things coming at me, like, how can I do it all? And, I am doing it all. So it goes like this. Good, Joy. Your heart is beating out of your chest. That's good stuff. So I'm glad you did the exercise properly. And so now we're going to transmute that, and we're going to let it go. So it looks like this. Oh, overwhelm, I remember you. I allow you to be here and be in my experience. And I feel you, and I feel what it's like to feel overwhelmed. And I acknowledge you and respect you as a valuable emotion that has helped a lot of people deal with a lot of things. But now I'm choosing to not have you in my experience, and I'm asking you to leave my being and leave my body, and not to come back for a long time. I release you, I release you, I release you. And then breathe. You could put your arms out like this if you like. This is actually another life hack. If you put your arms out like this, now try not to feel powerful. Right? This is a power pose. This is another one. There's a for those that don't see it, it's kind of the Superman pose. It's like this. Yeah, and there's a great TED talk on life hacks, which I got those 2 stances from. But this is a great pose to release from, because you pull your arms back like this, kind of like you're being crucified. You breathe it out, and just release it. Allow it to leave. And so what we're doing here, is we're being conscious of our thoughts and what we're thinking, and we're just doing a silly little ceremony to bring awareness to the emotion that's giving us a less than pleasant experience. And so we, when we resist something, it persists. When we allow it, we can transmute it. And like Helen says, we are here on this planet to be negative emotion filters. So if we can just filter the negative emotions, we're helping our entire planet upgrade and move into the new reality of a more loving planet, a more peaceful planet, a more calm planet, a more enlightened planet, more awakened planet. Okay, and so Joy, Pilar, do y'all feel better now that we've released it? I know probably both of you have lots and lots of techniques for releasing things like this. This is just one of them. You can use whatever you like to release it. But the point was to experience it and allow our bodies to feel. The reason we amplified it like that is because I want us to feel, I choose for us to feel what it feels like to have that emotion. And then we can make a different choice. Like, wait a second, that doesn't feel good. When I just did overwhelm and I amplified it like that, like it was my mind was going crazy. Like, I don't like that experience. So I'm choosing not to feel the overwhelm anymore. And I've been using this technique a lot. And I mean, y'all spent all week with me. I don't seem very overwhelmed, do I?
No.
It's because I've been processing it a lot. But overwhelm has been something I've had to deal with because I'm running 4 companies and 3 networking groups and 25 Facebook groups, and have 3 or 4 events every week. But I do what I love and it's fun. And so when I remember that, when I choose to focus on, I gave up the corporate world, which I didn't like, and I now get to do what I do love every day and just be in gratitude of that, the overwhelm goes away. So it's literally a choice. I'm just making a different choice on what to experience. And I'm being aware of what my thoughts are thinking, and I'm being aware of what those thoughts do to my body and how it makes my body feel. And if it doesn't feel good, I don't want it. And maybe you do. Maybe if there's, for example, grief is a good one. If someone passes, you don't want to try to do a 10-second ceremony and let go of the grief and not think about grief again. You want to process. You want to go through a grieving process and decide when to grieve and allow time to grieve, and set it aside. But then when you're not grieving, when you're not in that time, allow yourself to have joy. It's okay to have joy even when, something bad just happened. And I say bad in quotes because, as we all know, well, most of us get that when people die, they're not really dying. They're just moving into another dimension. They're still there, and they're actually easier for us to access in just a different realm through a different veil. But we can be more with them than when they were here. And I get that that's easier said than done. Trust me, I've had people die in my life. I still want their 3D being here, and it hurts that they're not. But there is, my uncle passed most recently, and I was very close with him. And I just ask him to be with me, and I can feel it, and it feels really good. And I know Sherry, has the experience with her son Todd, and it's such a beautiful thing to see their connection and the way she's connecting with him, and you're connecting, Nora's connecting with Nikola Tesla, who's amazing guy to connect with. So that is there, that availability is there. But the reason I started that tangent was because grief is something that you do want to process and go through. You don't want to rush through the grieving process. Pilar's saying she feels pretty now, so good for you, Pilar. And Joy says, heck yeah, I'm a woman, hear me roar. Nice one. So I'm glad, yeah. And she just lit some sage. Had to get rid of that in the room. Nice. So yeah, push it out of the room. And so what I'm going to offer to you guys here is that, yes, you can do sage, and sage works very well. It works very well because we think it works very well, and the collective consciousness agrees sage works very well, and it does work very well. And the smell, you can smell it, and it works. And you can do a ceremony and cleanse any room in 10 seconds. You can cleanse any house in 10 seconds. You can force any being that you're feeling out of your existence in 10 seconds. Like, this doesn't need to be a big process, and you don't need to have like exorcisms, and you can do all that. If it's fun to you, do it. But anything can be transformed very quickly because there is only the now. And when I say 10-second ceremonies, that's only because people wouldn't get it if I'd said let's do 0.001 second ceremonies and try to get into the now ceremony. It's like 10 seconds is the least you can do and have people at least feel something. But you can transmute anything instantaneously. It's now proven with science that cellularly, I always have trouble with that word, cellularly, we change over 1 billion times per second. The only thing holding us to being the same and looking the same and experiencing the same way is that our beliefs hold us in that way. Like if we totally believed, I'm not suggesting this is an easy belief system, but if we totally believed that everything was always changing for us and we were constantly becoming a different person every second, that would be our experience. And I've actually been trying that on. I've been like, I'm going to be a different person every single day. I'm gonna upgrade, and I'm gonna be a completely different person than I was yesterday. It doesn't mean I was broken yesterday. It doesn't mean I'm broken today or need to be fixed for tomorrow. It just means I'm gonna be a different person. I'm gonna be open to being completely different than I was yesterday. And it's fun. It's fun. And if that's not fun for you, don't do it. It's okay. What were you talking about? You said you should do that too, Pilar. I'm not sure what you're talking about. Oh, I know what you're talking about. Sage the room like Joy did. Got it. Okay, so now we're going to talk about transforming forgiveness into peace and into gratitude. So when we can truly get the mirrors, and again, you can watch the 7 Mirrors of Esteem with Greg Braden. You look up, mirrors of consciousness. There's lots of ways you can learn about the mirrors that we're getting. But in my belief, from science background, this is a hologram, and everything we're experiencing is all inside of us. It's all a reflection, and so we're always seeing a mirror. And so anytime we have a friction, a disturbance, an argument, a fight, something that gives us a charge, like that kind of stuff, there's always a lesson that we're learning, and sometimes we don't value that lesson. But if you look back on it and, oh, my awful childhood, and this happened to me, and this happened to me, well, if those bad things happen to you, bad being in quotes, happened to you when you were a child, how did that change your experience now? Are you more independent now because your mom didn't care about you so much? Do you have more a level of independence? If you got molested, are you more powerful now? And do you stand in your power and you do not allow people to be bullied or how did it change your experience when that, in quotes, bad thing happened to you? How did that change the rest of your life because of what you learned and the lesson you learned? And so when we truly get that everything is a mirror and that we're all one being, we can move, not get really good at forgiveness, because that's what I named the class, The Secret to Forgiveness. The secret to forgiveness is there's no need to forgive. And this is just my truth, again. But the secret to forgiveness, in my opinion, is there's nothing to forgive. In fact, we can come from a place of gratitude. Thank you so much for offering me that resistance. Thank you for showing me that contrast. Thank you for giving me the ability to see something in myself that I wasn't seeing and learn a very valuable lesson that will serve me for the rest of my life. Thank you for agreeing as a soul to get into an agreement with me where we could each learn something very valuable from each other. We must have been really, really close as souls. The more anxiety between the situation and the more friction, the more violence, whatever, the tighter the souls were. Like I like to say, when 2 humans are fighting on earth, their souls are high-fiving in heaven. There is an agreement that we learn this from each other. So, and I get that from a human perspective. Well, that human still did something to me that's awful. Okay. But from a soul perspective, can you find gratitude in this human from their soul? Can you be grateful for the lessons that they've helped you to get in this lifetime? And so if we can transform from the need to forgive to being grateful for the lesson, it's a beautiful experience. And for me, I'll give you a little story about me. I've said before, I was stuck in my custody battle so bad. I mean, I was, if you'd have met me 4 or 5 years ago, all you would have heard was, poor me, poor me, poor me. Let me tell you my story about my custody battle. It's so awful, blah, 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 blah. I won't even tell the story now. I'm just telling you that it's a story. What I started doing was finding gratitude. And then all of a sudden I realized, wait a second, not only do I have an angel incarnate named Emily, that's 9 years old, on the planet because of this woman. And I say this woman, there's still a little charge there because of Michelle. And see, I've said baby mama and my daughter's mother so often, I wasn't naming her. Her name is Michelle. It's okay to name her. Her name is Michelle, and I'm very grateful for Michelle. And I wouldn't have Emily. That's a huge one, obviously. But because of the custody battle, because of the arduous nature of it, and this was a tough custody battle. I would punch the inside of my car. I never forget. I would drive to Houston, not drive from Baton Rouge to Houston, and I wouldn't get Emily because she'd pull her out of school or whatever. And I'd drive back, and I'd be punching the inside of my car. And I remember thinking to myself, and I wasn't violent. This was just, it pushed me to my edge. And I remember thinking to myself, I've got to do something about this. I've got to change. Like, I can't keep being this violent, even though it's just punching a car. Like, I've got to change my anxiety level around this. So what did I do? I started meditating. I started studying peace of mind. I started looking into neurologistic programming and brainwave entrainment and different ways to find peace in my mind. And I found them. And then after Hurricane Katrina, she moved to Houston. Houston's a place, as a chemical engineer from South Louisiana, everyone goes to Houston to get a job. Not me. I said, I will never live in Houston. Don't want to live in that big town. And like so many others in Houston, there I am in Houston now going, never thought I'd be here. So she brought me to my spiritual family. She gave me the ability to meditate. She taught me inner peace to a large degree. She gave me Emily. You know, she allowed me to realize that I can deal with any human on this planet. Trust me, if I can deal with Michelle, I can deal with any human. And if she's watching this, she would agree. She'd be like, yeah, I'm tough to deal with. Like, she gets it. She jokes about how tough she is to deal with. And she actually honors me often now that I've put up with so much over the years and I haven't returned fire. And even when I was punching the hood, I was very good at not returning fire. But at that time, I was doing it for legal reasons. You know, I didn't want to get in trouble with the judge or lose custody. Now I'm doing it out of love. And it's not out of forgiveness. It really is not. It's out of gratitude. Like, I truly am grateful for what she's brought into my life. And so I treat her with complete and total respect and honor and love for the lessons that I've gotten from her. And our complete experience has shifted. Everything has shifted about our experience. And now we don't even deal with a judge. We haven't been to court in 2 years. Our judge is Emily. Emily decides what's up. She's the most powerful 9-year-old I've ever met. She decides who and when she hangs out with. She decides what we do. She's in charge. And I'm totally cool with that. Me and Emily's, and by the way, talking about parenting for a moment, I believe, and this is a tangent, but I like tangents. I believe that the belief that we need to really parent our kids and teach them everything and helicopter over them and protect them, it's a great way to keep them from learning their lessons and getting what they come to this planet to learn. And then we try to protect them from learning their lessons all throughout their childhood. And then they land in therapy for their entire 20s because their parents ruined their life. You know, and it's because we didn't teach them that, like I teach Emily, that we're in charge of our experience. I'm in charge of my happiness and you're in charge of yours. You know, if I'm playing a game with Emily and it becomes no longer fun to me, I will quit and say, you know what, I don't want to play anymore. This isn't fun to me. You're changing the rules. I don't like changing the rules. It's one of my pet peeves. And this is no longer fun to me. I'm out. She's like, wait a second, Dad, hold on. Let's talk about this. Let's figure out a way we can both play. I said, okay, I'm going to sit back down and play. But I'm showing her that I'm in charge of my experience. And I'm not going to play this game with you just because you're my daughter and it's my job to make you happy. Because it's not. It's your job to make you happy. It's my job to make me happy. You know? So just a little side tangent. I kind of told my daughter about 1.5 years ago that I was going to stop parenting her. And our relationship has gotten so much fun. She actually treats me like she's my grandmother. And I protect her. I keep her fed. I hold her hand. But she kind of fusses at me about stuff, and she demands certain things. And I just, if it's within my happiness, I deliver it to her. And if it's not, I say, no, that doesn't make me happy to do that for you. No, thank you. So anyway, just a little tangent onto parenting. Okay, cool. I have a question. So once we shift our perspective from anger and resentment and hate to forgiveness and acceptance and gratitude, how does that affect the other person? And how does that affect the collective consciousness? And your question cut off there, but I get where you're going. And it's a great question. Dr. Joe Morshala talks about the quantum entanglement. And there's some science behind this too, by the way. And so what happens is we get into a quantum entanglement with somebody and we get all tangled up with them. And so let's say, let's pick a good one like, let's say, Nora, let's say you think I'm greedy. And I think you're awful for thinking I'm greedy, right? So if you decide, if you go to a workshop for the weekend and you decide that you no longer think I'm greedy because you've decided that you don't believe in wrong anymore, so you untangle from me and you go away. So I'm untangled from you and I will feel that, no doubt. Like there is a connection between us. I will feel that you no longer feel that way. Now what happens a lot of times is I still want that. I still haven't learned my lesson and I still need that conflict or that contrast. So I'm going to go out and search for someone else. I'm going to say, oh, you, hey, do you think I'm greedy? Oh, great. Here, come tangle up with me. And we're going to get right back up entangled, and now you're going to think I'm greedy, and now I'm going to think you're awful for thinking I'm greedy. And so that's what happens from my end. From your end, you're free. You're loose. You're not entangled. And so sometimes both parties untangle and go their separate ways and learn their lesson and move on. And sometimes that person that gets untangled goes find someone else to give them that grief or give them that lesson. And you find this a lot in relationships. You know, you'll date the same person over and over again that maybe reminds you of one of your parents, and you'll get the same lesson over and over again until finally you get it like, oh, here's the lesson. Oh, okay, great. And then the next person you date, you don't get that anymore. So this concept is shown to us over and over and over again. And I'm not claiming, by the way, that you can learn the same exact lesson. Every lesson is different, but there's the same flavor. There's a certain flavor. There's a certain stank on that lesson that's similar. That's kind of lined up. And so as we move on and as we get the bigger and bigger lessons, we don't need to be entangled with those people that believe those things about us or that push that specific button for us. We can choose differently and choose to not be entangled with anyone. And so if we walk around, if our duty is to transform ourselves, and we're here on this planet to upgrade, enlighten ourselves, ascend, whatever, well, wouldn't it be valuable to know what our buttons are? Wouldn't it be valuable? Sure. So how do we find out our buttons? Well, who's pushing them? Thank you for pushing my button. Thank you for showing me something that can irritate me about myself. I irritate me when you do that, and thank you for doing that, because it just showed me what I'm irritating myself about, and I can go in and do some work and do some shadow work. And Teal Swan, by the way, has some great shadow work that you can do. Just search Teal Swan shadow work. You can dig into this stuff even further, but you don't even need to go to that level if you can just see the person that's pushing your button as a gift, and just immediately as they push your button, be like, Namaste, thank you so much for offering me the ability to see this button that I was not even aware of. I didn't even know someone could irritate me in that way. Awesome. Let me see if I can track it. Yep, I was 5 years old when that button was first pushed. And I now remember what my mom did. You know what? I'm going to forgive my mom for that. And poof, untanglement from your mom, untanglement from this person, untanglement from that lesson, button's gone, transform, 10 seconds. Y'all getting this? Like, does this making sense? So it can be really fast and it can be really quick if we turn the irritation instead of into constant forgiveness. Oh, I'm going to forgive that too. I'm going to forgive that too. I'm going to forgive that too. I'm really good at forgiveness. I forgive you too, and I forgive everyone. If you shift that into gratitude, it's so much faster in terms of seeing that it's about us, and it was always about our buttons, and it wasn't about them. It had nothing to do with them. Like we say, it's none of what other people think about me is none of my business. It's because our experience is all based on things that happened to us when we were younger. And when we can get clear on the triggers and on the charges that are inside of us, then we can experience life freely. And when we do have triggers, you're never going to get rid of all, well, I shouldn't say that. I don't believe that I will ever get rid of all of my triggers or all of my charges. But it can be a much, much faster process once I get this, and once I can transmute it really fast, and once I can find the gratitude in that person. Because what you're going to find is, relationship-wise, those people that are pushing your buttons in that way, I'm betting they're either family or they're connected to you in some way that you can't escape. It's not some stranger. It's not some stranger that you just met, that you could easily walk away from and not be in a relationship with anymore. It's someone that you're trapped in a relationship with, whether it's your in-laws or whether it's your parents or whether it's your kids, grandparents, whatever, especially custody battles, because you're trapped with them because you have kids for, years. That's what you were talking about last night, right? The karmic relationships. And karmic relationships a lot of times have connections where people can't just walk away from the relationship, but you can find peace in the relationship by identifying the way they're pushing your button, seeing it as your button, removing the button, releasing the button, and letting that person move on and live their life, without having to be connected with you in that way. And Pilar says, I forgive everyone I've had painful experiences with for my own freedom and ultimately their own. Very nice. And Pilar also says it makes it easier or offers the opportunity for others to follow our example. It helps to set everyone free through experience and example. Amen. I love me a good Pilar-ism. But that kind of forgiveness in your own time and cannot be forced. That's a good point. I'm glad you brought it up, Pilar. Yeah, I'm not asking you to go from, I just remembered I was molested my entire childhood, to gratitude for the person that molested me. That's not what it's about. And if you want to get deeper into that subject, you can listen to the class on Wednesday where we talk about moving up the scales of unconsciousness and apathy and grief and anger and pain and enthusiasm. I think I missed one, but yeah, you do. It is valuable to move up that scale, and anger is a very appropriate emotion when you just remembered someone molested you or you got raped. Like, yes, very appropriate and not necessary to forgive that person right away. And we all know this one. As we're holding on to that and not forgiving it, the longer we hold on to it, is it hurting them? You know, it's not like it's boiling on a pot and the hotter it gets, the more it hurts them. It's just hurting us inside. So, yes, don't rush it, and know that it's hurting you inside to hold on to that need for forgiveness and that pain, and that whenever you are ready, it can be fast. You know, but sure, you should be, or not should be, but you can be ready before you take on that kind of challenge and that kind of deep release. Um, but I don't believe anything needs to be painful, and I don't believe any processing needs to take months and months and months or years and years and years. Can it? Sure. Do you want it to? Yeah, do it. I mean, if you want it to, nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong here. But it's up to you. You know, you can decide how long to hold on to it. And if you listen to people's language, they'll be telling you, like, yeah, I'm gonna be processing this for a while. You know, I got a workshop scheduled next fall that I'm going to be dealing with it, and you know, I think I'm going to process a lot of it there. And then in the next spring, I've got another workshop that I'm going to be tackling another portion of it. And you know, if that's fun for you, great. And if you don't like fun, then forget the fun factor and go for whatever you like. Like if you want to experience the sad and you want to experience the grief, and you want to experience the whatever it is that you're going to experience by going through it in that slow process, more power to you. Great. If you want to choose joy and happiness and, you know, make it faster, choose it to be faster. You know, do the simple fast techniques that we're talking about tonight, and just make a different choice. I choose happiness. I am my joy. You know, I am, we talked about the other night, is God creates in conscious language. So I am free from pain. I live without the need to forgive because I find gratitude in every experience.
Can I ask a question?
Please.
I mean, I accept the notion that our perception shapes our reality to a certain degree. Probably not as far as you accept that, but to a certain degree. And I accept the notion that a lot of our emotions that we want to project upon others are in fact a mirror. You know, like you said, it's a hologram, it's all mirrors and all that. And I can even see that in a lot of relationships, it's helpful and beneficial for me to let go of certain things and choose joy and get some gratitude and all that. But what I'm skeptical about is that I also believe that there's I at least believe there's real harm and hatred and horror in this world. And I don't know where you can, I'm trying to figure out how, I mean, sure, you can let go of the horror, maybe. Some people will be able to and some won't. But how do you find gratitude in horror?
Right. So if y'all can't hear him, the question was, how do you find gratitude in the horror and the terror, and what other words you use?
A simple word would just be harm.
Harm.
I mean, real harm. I mean, it's one thing, okay, in a custody relationship or in a karmic relationship where there's this quantum entanglement and all of that. And sure, a lot of that is I am projecting things into that relationship that are then bouncing back, and I'm finding out about where my buttons are and all that. But there are also situations where people just lie to us, and they lie to us again and again and again. Or they harm us again and again and again. Or they molest a 4-year-old again and again and again. And maybe I'm going to the very exaggerated situation,
sure.
because there's a lot of situations here where but still, I'm also thinking that for every quantum entanglement that I can recognize that I have buttons that are being pushed, there are also other relationships where another person has just flat out harmed me.
Right.
maliciously, sinfully, horribly, and where's the gratitude in that?
Right. Yeah, and so I would say the gratitude in that, to find the gratitude in that, it would be necessary to look for the lesson in that. And if you haven't seen the lesson in that yet, there's a better chance that it may happen to you again in a similar way, similar scenario, similar something. I truly don't, and I'm, again, you missed the very beginning of class, but I was asking people to just let go of, suspend their disbelief, and like sit in a space of getting into my world and the way I see things.
Yeah.
And so when we see, like, let's take what you said, a 4-year-old being molested, because this was the toughest one for me. And I had to use like multiple coaches. Pilar was one of them, to actually get that it's not wrong for someone that is being molested. And we're going to talk about wrong and right in a minute. And I want to be very crystal clear that I'm not saying it's right in any form of the way. I'm not saying it's right. What I'm claiming is that there is soul agreements, that I choose to believe that there are soul agreements, that these two souls have made an agreement, and there is a perception, there is a value in the perception, or it wouldn't happen. And so, how could God create these awful things? Well, thoughts become our reality, and from a soul's perspective, souls choose to experience some, let me put it this way, very advanced souls choose to experience very advanced lessons with very tough lessons. Like, how some teenagers won't ever learn something the hard way or the easy way. Like, you'll tell them the same thing over and over again, and then they'll go out and they'll get their asses kicked by something and come back and tell you the lesson they just learned. And you're like, I've been telling you that lesson for freaking years now. And they had to learn it the hard way. And from a soul's perspective, sometimes that's what a soul does. And so I think, especially from molestation perspective, for me, it was very critical that I let go of the belief in a 4-year-old and see that as an infinite being, as a soul that's an infinite being. And I'm not saying that that 4-year-old chose that experience. What I'm saying is that the 4-year-old was a part of choosing the lesson that they're getting from that experience, and the molester is getting an equally valuable lesson from that experience. And they're each getting a lesson, and they have gotten entangled with themselves. And from a soul perspective, they're connected. They've made an agreement. Is it right? Of course it's not right. And should we stop it if we see it in our reality? Absolutely, we should stop it in every form of the word. And if we can get rid of the belief that it's wrong, we're going to release the amount it happens on the earth. And the best way I could put that is this. There's a huge difference between being anti-war and being pro-peace. The anti-war ralliers are holding war in place. With their resistance to war, they're helping to, in my opinion, they're helping to perpetuate war. So when we see someone on the news that's molested 20 children, and we all send hate towards that person, which is what happens when we watch it on the local news most often, everyone sends hate towards that person, is that perpetuating this in a way that, that instead of sending the love and transmuting this and making it not wrong and allowing that person to heal, we all, as a community, as a collective, we send them hate, and then they get out of jail and they do it again, and we wonder why. Well, could we have transformed it differently and shifted it differently if we'd have sent that person love instead of hate and that anxiety? You know what I'm saying? So when people lie to us and they harm us, I do believe that there's no randomness to that. I don't believe that there's ever any random harm that is done to us that had no lesson behind it and nothing to learn from it. And, when we get in a position of victim mentality, for example, we're going to attract that to us over and over and over again. And it doesn't, I'm not saying it's wrong to be in victim mentality, because when you're in victim mentality, you're getting lessons like, the lessons are coming very fast until you stop telling that story and stop living in the victim mode and vibrationally attracting the experiences, the exact experiences you're afraid of. Even John F. Kennedy said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. And I think that's a very metaphysical belief, because when we fear, if I walk outside every day and I think that I'm going to get mugged, there's a really good chance that I'm going to get mugged, because I do believe that our thoughts create all of our own reality. So if there's a belief and a fear around this is going to happen to me, look out. It's coming. You know, and the people, we talked about this the other night too, the people that run worst case scenarios in their mind all the time, and then those scenarios happen, are like, oh man, thank God I prepared myself for it by thinking about it all the time. I would offer, you created it, you know, because all of our thoughts are creating reality. And from a science perspective, I know you like science, from a science perspective, our thoughts are literally creating molecules. Those molecules are literally emotions. Those emotions literally change physiology in our body. And it's changing our current reality. As our thoughts, you know, are in the negative or in the victim, we're literally changing our physiology, and we're changing our vibration, and we're changing what we attract to us. And not just by, oh, this woman's walking weakly, so I'm going to go rape her type stuff. Like the energy field she's putting out, the vibration she's vibrating at is in a victim mode, and it's going to attract someone that may hurt her if she's fearing that hurt. Does it mean that it's her fault? Of course it doesn't mean it's her fault. Of course not. It's not what I'm suggesting at all, so please don't think that that's what I'm saying. And does it make what the rapist did right because she's learning a lesson? Well, no. I'm just offering that it doesn't make it wrong either. It was an agreement. And so if you can look at the entire planet and see the entire planet as souls learning lessons in a playground that they all chose to play in, consciously chose to play in, maybe not human consciously, but soul consciousness, higher being consciousness chose to play in this realm, then it makes it a little easier to process that. And trust me, I'm not claiming to get this, and I'm not claiming to like be able to look at someone that got molested and not feel it wrong. I'm still trying this on like a pair of pants, and yeah, it's tough when you hear a story about, especially someone you care about, that something like this happens. You still want to go murder somebody. You know, you still get that But I do believe on a larger scale, the people that are shooting up the schools, the people that are getting caught molesting the kids, if we can shift the energy we're sending those people, it can shift this reality. And so, like, if we scare all of our kids to death and tell them, oh, you'll probably get molested if you're not around me for 10 minutes, that's a dangerous thing to tell our kids if we want to protect them. You know, if we scare our kids and convince our kids that there's some dangers in the world, or ourselves, that there's some dangers in the world and that bad things can happen vibrationally, there's a much, much larger chance that that's going to happen. And you might say the only way that could happen. So I don't know. Does that address it at all? I'm not asking you to change your opinion on it, but does that address your question?
It addresses it.
Yeah. And and I'm not asking you to change your opinion, so I'm glad you're not. Good. Awesome. But I appreciate you being open-minded to hearing my opinion on it.
Yeah. Well, it's just I have, when I react to the world, this is where I think I agree with you and yet disagree with you. Okay. As I react to the world, I believe that my perception changes the way I react to the world and changes my the reality as I perceive it. Mm-hmm. Okay? I'm less convinced with you that how I react to the world changes the world. I'm less convinced of that. So, so while I would accept that whether it's a rape or a murder or a lie, that there are many ways that the people who are the victims of those harms can change their perception of them, change their reality of them, and maybe respond to it better and grow in different ways. I'm less convinced that there was a soul agreement for that to somehow take place in the first place.
Okay,
I
got
would
it.
add something.
Yep.
As a hand analyst, one of the life lessons is sexual violation. Mm-hmm. So it's there.
Yeah. Lesson of sexual violation is there. So there's a book called E Squared, which is a bunch of techniques to prove to yourself, if you're skeptical or not, that we do create all of our reality with our thoughts, and read it or not. But there's a lot of techniques in there. I haven't read the book. I just know about it. One thing, there's a lot of ways that I've proven this to myself for my truth. Not asking you to believe it, but if you focus on dolphins, could be turtles, whatever. focus on dolphins and meditate on them 5 minutes every morning, you're going to start seeing dolphins everywhere. And is that a change in perception, or is it a change in literally reality? And I'm going to offer it's the same thing. What we're perceiving is actually, I don't believe what we're perceiving is actually there. You know, if we keep looking at matter, there is no matter. Every time we find something, it's 99.99999% empty space, and then we find the parts that make that up, and it's 99.999% empty space. So I currently believe that all of our perceptions of what we're seeing and as our reality is just that. It's just perceptions. There's no reality there. There's no matter there. There's nothing here. I'm not sitting on a chair. You know, and I get that that's a way out there belief system. But from a science perspective, I can prove that there's nothing there. I can prove that I'm not touching this chair, and yet I'm sitting on it. My molecules and the chair's molecules aren't touching. Yeah. Scientifically, that's true. Scientifically, it's also true that myself and the chair are 99.999% empty space. Yeah. So I believe most literally that, yeah, in the hologram, our thoughts create our reality, all of it. It doesn't mean we're responsible for all of our reality. That's a trickier question because our subconscious and our programming plays a huge part in that. You know, but when you start believing in this weird stuff that I believe, the synchronicities speed up. When you start thinking that everything is connected, you start to see the connections more. It's just like when you study numerology. You're going to see the connections to numerology everywhere. You're going to see all the numbers making sense, and it's a perception shift. It's not a reality shift. You know, I would argue that it's kind of the same thing in a way because your perception is your reality. You know, to you, that's your reality. But yeah, this is a big one. This is a leap of faith, and I'm not asking you to make the leap of faith, and I appreciate you listening to me. So yeah, and it was a year and a half, 2 years. I wanted to believe in oneness. I wanted to believe we create all of our own reality, but I couldn't get around the molestation and murder and things like that being okay and not being wrong. And actually, I asked Pilar to make a video of it, and Pilar made a really amazing video on it. What's the name of it, Pilar? I forget the name of the video, but I think the follow-up to the video was called For You, Joseph, or something like that, because I had requested it. But yeah, Nora?
Dr. William Benham, who is an MD who studied hand analysis in the 1800s and I think kind of maybe through the early 1900s, he studied lots of different populations to come up with a scientific system to study hands. And so he even found, because he first started in prisons to study their hands, but there's even a murderer's thumb.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the murderer's thumb is on the fingerprint, or
it's on the thumb. It's a shape of a thumb.
And have they done any science proving that the murderer's thumb are murderers?
Well, he did.
Okay.
Yeah. So
wow.
It's not a print. It's a shape. It's the different system than life prints.
Yeah.
So but still research that life prints used, but there is it's like a fingernail shape in a thumb that's very distinct when you look at it.
Got it. And one of the things that helped me was to really start to see everyone that I meet, especially the people I meet, but everyone on the planet, but especially the people I meet, are different versions of me. You know, like literally different versions of me. And so like you're the cool college professor, have fun, you know, really great intellectual conversationalist me. You're the energy working, you know, peaceful, hand analysis, supportive, soulmate version of me. Like all these different versions of me are out there. And so if you think about it that way, it's like, yes, the people that have done me harm, it sucks. And when I see them as a different version of me that did this, because they're God. God created them, and they're a creation of the Creator. I'm a creation of the Creator, so we are one. And when I see them as a different version of me, it makes it easier to see that the harm was part of the plan, the master plan, you know. And we'll move on. And I appreciate that a lot. I appreciate the comment. Thank goodness I'm not the only one. Who else is looking at their thumb? Nice one.
funny.
Okay, so now we're going to move into the inner peace portion, and this is going to dig deeper into this subject. So Landmark Forum, I know you said you were familiar with it. A lot of people are familiar with it. It's one of my favorite workshop series. Landmark Forum Education, really valuable work. I volunteer my time with them to work on their team. I work the audio board and sit in the back, so I learn a lot of stuff from them. One of the most valuable teachings I've learned from them, I'm giving them full credit for, is the secret to inner peace. And the secret to inner peace is 2 steps. Step number one is get integrity with your word. Period. With your word to everyone else and with your word to yourself. And if you're not in integrity with your word, the opportunity is usually, or the upgrade is usually not to make more agreements and try to keep them. It's to back off on the amount of agreements you're making and keep them. But if you make an agreement with someone, keep it. Be on time. Be in integrity with time. Be in integrity with your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it. And the toughest part about that, obviously, at least for me, maybe not obviously, but for me, the toughest part about that was being in integrity with word to myself. You know, I wasn't being in integrity. I was in integrity with word to others for the most part, but I wasn't always in integrity with my word to myself. And that's why I was very careful in getting into an agreement with you, because I wanted to make sure I was in integrity with that agreement. I wanted to know what the agreements were, and that's just part of who I am now. Like, I want to be in integrity with my word, because when you're not in integrity with your word, it just becomes messy, and that creates little shit storms that just come back and bite you later, you know? And they say in conscious body language translation, or I forget what modality, but they say that being late is actually displaced anger. Yeah. And so it's something to look at. You know, if you're always late, you know, be always early. Shift it and be always early, and see if that doesn't change your experience of what you're showing up for, what you're doing, things like that. So that's the first step. The second step is to release your belief in wrong. And this is much harder one. This is the one I was talking about earlier about putting on this pair of pants. It's not easy to release all of your beliefs in wrong, because it's really tough to not believe that molestation and murder is wrong. And again, I'm not suggesting that it means to think that these things are right. What it's about is looking around at our planet and seeing peace, seeing love, and seeing souls learning lessons that are beautiful and deep and advanced. And these souls, whether they're the murderers or the murderees, are advanced, or they would not be here. And they came here to experience this, or they would not be here. And so this planet is a playground that is allowing the facilitation of these huge soul lessons. And if we see the lessons everywhere, including war, you know, if we see the lessons everywhere, we can become okay. I'm okay with all of these souls choosing these lessons. I'm completely okay with them. I have my lessons to learn, and I'm okay with that. And all of these people have their lessons to learn, and I'm okay with that. And so I can find peace in the world by just allowing what is to be what is and not making it wrong. And so do I choose to watch the nightly news and use that as an opportunity to process this belief? No, I don't. I don't want to have to constantly look at awful things over and over again and keep processing and processing, and how do I make this not wrong? How do I make this not wrong? Like, that's not my choice and experience. You can do that if you want, if you think it'll help your growth, but I choose to look at the good side, you know. I choose to look at the solutions and not the problems, you know, because what we focus on does expand, and what we're resistant to persists for us. So if we're resistant to making murder not wrong, then that's just going to perpetuate our making it wrong. And so what they talk about in that teaching is that when we're making something wrong, anything, first off, we're not finding peace in that area of our life. And second off, there's something we're getting off on by being righteous about this. You know, like, how dare this person molest all these people? I don't molest people. I'm right. He's wrong. There's something that we're getting off on by being righteous in that realm. And so if we can shift that and send love to these scenarios in all directions, send love to the molesters and the people that got molested, It's going to shift this planet in a much faster way than to hate the molesters and feel sorry for the molested. Because both of those are negative. And I'm not making wrong negative, by the way. I take this to the full extent. I'm not saying it's wrong to believe that. It's just providing a certain experience. And it's perpetuating what we're wanting to go away. Because it's the same as pro-peace and anti-war. We're being anti-molestation, and so we're being resistant to it and holding it in a certain place. And it's not about being pro-molestation. It's about being pro-healthy sexuality and pro-healthy relationships and pro-co-empowered relationships and not codependent relationships. It's about, finding the solution and focusing on the solution and seeing that in our reality and seeing the goodness in everything and seeing the upgrades and seeing how we're transforming. And we're already shifting the planet with this, and the love movement is already won. There's a shift going on, yes. But there's no, in 2 months we're going to find heaven on earth. No, it's now. It's now, as soon as we make it now. As soon as we can find inner peace by releasing the belief in wrong in all these directions that we're finding the wrong, and look at each one of them and release it, each one of those, a little bit more peace, a little bit more peace, a little bit more peace. And then a peace grows and peace grows and peace grows. So let's play with some 10-second ceremonies for those that are willing. We're going to do 10 seconds on something that you believe to be wrong, and we're just going to focus on how wrong it is for 10 seconds. Whatever you really want to focus on, believing how wrong it is, we're just going to sit in that for 10 seconds. Awesome. So that probably doesn't feel so good. So how do we do the upgrade from that? Well, again, if it's something like molestation, we're going to now focus for 10 seconds on healthy sexuality and how releasing the wrongness and pointing those fingers at other people. We point a finger, it points forward back at us. My friend points fingers like this. But when we point that finger, making everything wrong, how is that taking away from our inner peace? So the way we're going to feel peace around this subject is, what is the upgrade? So if you were making war wrong, well, now we're going to focus on peace. If you were focusing on molestation, we're going to focus on a healthy healthy sexuality planet. And we're going to release the belief that whatever we had as wrong, that whatever we were making wrong is wrong. We're going to release that belief for just 10 seconds. We're just going to try it on. You can take it right back after the 10 seconds. You can retake the wrong on after the 10 seconds. So we're just going to try it out for those willing. And so I think everyone gets the upgrade. So murder would be that there's no such thing as death. You're going to focus on the infinite beingness of our souls, that we're actually infinite and no one ever dies. I think everyone gets the upgrade. Does anyone need an upgrade from what they were focusing on? Okay. All right, so we're going to now focus on the upgrade from whatever that was, removing the belief in wrong from whatever that was, and allowing the inner peace to fill our hearts from releasing that wrongness in our lives, and just feel how it feels to no longer need to feel wrong about that area. Starting now. Okay, now keep your eyes closed. I'm going to walk you through a little additional 10-second ceremony here. So I want you to feel the releasing of the pressure that you've been putting on yourself around fixing this problem that's wrong, and about the world is wrong for not fixing this, and the world is wrong for having this issue. I want to release that pressure and breathe it out. Breathe in, breathe it out. Let that go from your shoulders. If you're carrying any burden around that, release it from your shoulders. If you're feeling any back pain from this, release it from your back. Allow your body to release this stuff that you've been carrying around by believing in this wrong. And just let it go. Let it flow out of your breath and just push it out of your being. All right, good. Good. So does that feel better? So I think you could at least see, even if you're just trying it on and you want to take back the belief in wrong after, even if you're just trying it on, you could see that there is something, just like when we're holding on to a need to forgive someone that we're not forgiving them, and we're choosing not to forgive them, we're holding on to, and it's mucking up our chakras and it's clogging our energy fields. I think you could at least see that this belief in wrong and this, and this, and this is clogging up our energetic system. And if we can release that, we're just going to allow the energy to flow more, and we're going to have more inner peace. Oh, there was something I wanted to say about that, and it just, I guess it flew right out of me. I was opening up, and it flowed right out of me. Hold on, I'm going to take a second. No, it's gone. Okay, cool. So, okay, cool. So now we're gonna do some an eye contact exercise. Are you guys willing to team up?
Sure.
So we're gonna do, and you guys have me as a partner. Hope you're willing to do that. So we're gonna do an eye contact exercise. We're gonna do a little bit longer than 10 seconds. We're gonna do about a minute, and y'all could go closer to each other if you like, or that's fine if you prefer.
He's resisting.
No, if you want to. If that's important, then we can do that.
So what we're going to do is look into each other's left eye. So I'm going to look into your left eye, and you're going to look into mine. Yeah, so we're each going to look into the black of each other's left eye. And we're going to spend about a minute in silence, and we're going to focus on inner peace. And we're going to send inner peace to the other person, and allow our own inner peace to come through us and feel it through this soul connection. When we connect through the eyes, we're connecting via the soul. And so we're going to literally transfer peace to and from each other, and our souls are going to trade peaceful stories. Excellent. Okay. So that's called a soul connection. You can do it with yourself in the mirror, as we talked about Wednesday night. And it's a very powerful way to connect with another person's soul. Did y'all feel the connection there?
I didn't know.
Okay.
I'm spending way too much time looking at her left eye.
Okay.
I mean, just the act of focusing on the left eye. So.
Okay. Yeah, and it's okay. Like, there's no wrong here.
It's not a right or wrong. It's an inability to get past the exercise of the exercise.
Gotcha.
The root of the exercise.
Gotcha. And yeah, and with practice, it can get better and better. And what I'm going to offer is possibly there was a soul connection there that your human was caught in the mind a little bit, thinking about the exercise, and your soul was connecting. So
Well, yeah, that sounds good.
we don't know.
That's good.
Yeah, we'll try that on for size. Who knows? Oh, nice. Margie and her husband did it in Woe Intense. Yeah, and so I highly recommend this for couples. It's just a really powerful way to connect. And you don't have to do the piece. You can actually just with zero intentions at all. It's a very powerful exercise as well, just to connect in that way. And it's a very powerful way to connect with yourself in the mirror. Really powerful way to do affirmations as well, to connect with yourself in the mirror in that way. So now we're going to get a little bit silly. I'm going to ask permission to make fun of serious subjects. If you don't give me permission, leave the room or close the computer, whatever you like, because I'm about to make fun of very serious situations. And the reason I do this is to make light of things, but it's also to point out a very deep lesson of oneness. And it's very tough not to get this lesson when you actually try it on. When you suspend your disbelief and try it on, it almost every time it's an aha moment, like, whoa, yeah, that worked. Wow, I didn't see it that way before. And so it's a way of seeing something that's in your past in a new way. And so so what we're going to do here is think about the worst story you have. In other words, the story that was really, really awful. And if you don't want to go to a rape or a molestation, then don't choose that. But if you do want to go there, you can choose that. So choose something you're comfortable with going there. And that was less than pleasant and has another person involved. I think most of us aren't going to choose something that was just us there. So another person is involved. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take a 20-second ceremony and we're going to retell this story to ourselves in our mind. The difference is instead of them, they, he, she, or John or Mary, we're going to use I and me. So again, suspend your disbelief. This is an exercise in playing with the fact that we are all one being. And so when you tell the story in this way, you're going to hear what actually happened and what, if we are one being experiencing itself through a dream, through different perceptions of ourselves, perceiving ourselves from different angles of our own oneness, then this is going to tell the story of what we were actually doing to ourselves at that time. And a lot of times it's going to be like, oh crap, yeah, I was totally doing that to myself for that time, and I see why, and I see what I learned from it, and I'm now grateful for that person for playing that role for me. I'm grateful for me for playing that role for me, is the way the story would go. Okay, so does everyone understand? I think everyone's got that, right? Do y'all understand this? So if y'all want to play, not necessary, but if you want to play, we're going to play. I see someone just jumped on. I don't think I'm going to be able to describe it, so you can just spend 20 seconds of meditation. But we're going to do a 20-second ceremony. We're going to tell the story. If you catch yourself using he, she, or a name other than I or me, shift it to I or me. If there's multiple people, there were many me's watching when this happened, and I walked into the room and I told myself, hey, get off the couch, me. I'm tired of you there. And I hit myself and I said, wait a second, why did you hit me? And so you get the scenario. So we're going to do that scenario for 20 seconds starting now. All right. So, how was that? Anyone have any comments? Do you get it?
Yeah.
You feel do you get the story differently now? Do you see it as a different story than you were telling yourself on what you were there to learn? Did you try it on? Okay.
Well, but I did see it as different. I mean, okay, it was rhetorically
Well, thanks for trying it. Yeah. Yeah, and this is just an exercise. It gets really silly. The more serious the situation, the more silly it sounds when you retell it. And all I can offer is it's a huge leap of faith to get oneness to this level, and I'm not asking anyone to take it, but when you try it on, it's a powerful place to live from. Um, I'm not even sure if it's true yet. It's just something I'm trying on. I mean, it's my truth right now, but it's something I'm trying on, and it is powerful, and it is a way to find peace in my relationships. I was having a lot of relationship issues with family members, with my custody battle I mentioned. Like, I was having a lot of relationship issues, and this really helped me, this exercise and the exercise we've done tonight. Yeah, Margie said felt yucky but makes sense. Yeah, it's going to feel weird, and it's actually more valuable when you can speak it out loud. We had to do it this way for the class, but if you can speak it out loud to someone, because you're going to want to tell them that this is, you're going to want to tell them who's who and what part I played in and what they did to me. You're going to want to get into your story and say, wait a second, this wasn't me. I didn't do this. So when you say it out loud to someone and you can't say, well, this me was me and this me was them, you just tell them the story, find an accountability partner or someone you want to play with in that way. And it's even more valuable when you speak it, because you get it to a deeper level when you can't say who was who in the story, which it is just a story. And we are, if you're still holding on to that story, which you probably are if you chose that in this exercise, there's something there that you can release, forgive, find gratitude in, or not. But there's some trigger there, or charge there, or you probably wouldn't have chose that story. So there's something to look at. Okay, thanks for playing, everyone. Okay, so we're starting to wrap up. I want to talk a little bit. I did promise last night we'd talk a little bit about finding our beloved, and if we already have our beloved, then this is about upgrading our beloved. And it's a simple exercise. So what we're going to do is, yeah, we have time. What we're going to do is take another 10-second ceremonies. Remember, I called the class 10-second ceremonies, so y'all signed up for it. So 10-second ceremony, and we're going to think of, in the first 10 seconds, we're going to think of 2 things that we want in our beloved to be emotionally. Like what 2 things, 2 words, 2 emotions that we really want in our beloved, we really choose for our beloved. And if you have a pen and paper, at the end of the 10 seconds, you can write them down. Super valuable, not necessary. We're going to start now. Okay, great. So if you have pen and paper, write those down. Now we're going to pick 10 more seconds. We're going to pick 2 things that we choose in our partner spiritually. So like from a spiritual realm, or yeah, I mean, and some would think it's similar to emotional, but there's a difference. So just focus on the difference of what spiritually we want in our partner. 2 things starting now. Okay, great. And so you could also go through this and do physically. You could go through and do however many you want. But the exercise is about what are we looking for in our beloved is also a reflection. I'm a big believer in reflection and mirrors. And so what we're looking for in our beloved is actually what we're wanting more of in ourselves. And so, I mean, it's pretty easy leap to say that whatever 4 things you just chose, you want in yourself. And so what I'm offering here is if you can upgrade these things in yourself, the need for them to be in your partner is not going to be there as much. And I use the word need on purpose. Will it be great if your partner is those things? Absolutely. But will it be the end of the world? Not as much. And especially if you're having a troubled relationship and you're looking for, why isn't my partner more of this? If there's that going on in your relationship, look at what that is and see how you can change that area, and and really find that within yourself. And then it's you're going to allow your partner to be as they are without making them wrong. You're going to allow them to be exactly who they are without trying to change them or fix them or upgrade them. You're going to allow whatever is, and then it's going to upgrade. Like whenever we allow, that's great universal law, whatever we allow, whatever is to be as it is, it shifts, it changes, it upgrades. It's fun universal law to play with. So as we find this and use this technique to find things about our beloved that we want, and then see that those are things that we want more of in ourselves, there's another level to this where we can find that the beloved we've been looking for is us. And if we can find the beloved in ourselves and fall in love with ourselves, we'll never be lonely. And this, for those that are already in a relationship, this takes a lot of pressure off your partner. Whatever we're missing in our relationship is what we're not delivering to the relationship. And Derek Rydell says that he has a great course called Law of Emergence. There's a link to it. It's a free 7-day course that I highly recommend on Soul Connections. But he says whatever we're missing in life is what we're not delivering. And by the way, that link is at my website, josephzenner.com/free. There's lots of free tools there, but that 7-day course is there. So whatever we're not getting out of our partnership or out of life is what we're not delivering to life. It's what we're not giving enough of that, or we wouldn't be missing it. If we were complete in ourselves with that area, it wouldn't be missing from our realm. So we wouldn't need to go find it in someone else. And like Dr. Joe Marshala calls it, he says we're all looking for our love dealers because we're not self-loving enough. We need to go get our love from our partner. And then when they don't give us enough love, we're like, hey man, you're not being a good love dealer. You're not giving me enough love. I'm not getting enough attention. I'm not getting enough time. What's the deal, man? Where's my love? And I'm talking like Dr. Joe. And so when we get that self-love for ourselves and, complete and total respect and honor for ourselves, we first off can't be lonely anymore. And second off, we're not going to need it in our partner. We're going to allow our partner to be as they are, and it's going to become a much more rich relationship. And so if you're single and you're looking for your beloved, shift the looking, look inside, find your beloved inside you, and then you're going to find that person that you've been looking for is going to pop into your existence. And there's another great rule, and I kind of made this one up, but our current relationship is equivalent to our current amount of self-love. So if you look past in your history, when your relationships were really arduous and troublesome, how were you loving yourself then? I bet it was proportional to a large degree. And if your relationship is great and loving and self-serving now and wonderful, I bet your level of self-love is up there. And if you've been single for a long time, this is also true. I mean, it's true. How's your relationship with yourself? It's directly proportional to your self-love. I mean, it's an easy one to get there. But as we see that the beloved we seek is us, then it allows our divine partner to be who they are and just really connect at a deeper level without trying to change them and upgrade them and fix them and all these other things and make them wrong. We just allow them to be the beautiful, perfect being that they are, and this can shift all relationships upward. And I think that's an easier leap. So that's about it. If anyone, I will give some questions or time for questions. If anyone wants to ask any questions, if y'all have any questions, you're welcome. But that's about it for what I wanted to present. We're right at 2 hours, landed on the dot, just like I had hoped we would, be right around 2 hours. Make sure I covered everything here. Yeah. If anyone wants to get wild and share their I me story, the silly I me story on live chat, you're welcome to do that here. It is fun to get it out there. Post it in a Facebook group. Get it out of yourself and tell it to someone else, and it's even higher level upgrade. So it's a super powerful thing. I'm not seeing any questions, so
I want to see who's on there that I know.
Margie, you don't know. Joy, you know.
Joy
Pilar is
Osich?
on there. Yep, Joy Osich is
Hi,
on
Joy.
there. I think Sherry was on earlier.
Yeah, she's probably on
She's
for a
not
little
commenting. This is, a lot of people are watching and not commenting. Boon Tiki, I don't know who Boon Tiki is. Boon Tiki, thank you for joining us, whoever you are. Let me see, someone just, thank you. Okay, good. So they're just giving gratitude. So I want to end by giving my supreme gratitude to you. Thank you so much for trusting me and for releasing your, suspending your disbelief and going on this fun little ride tonight. I get that that it meant that you trust me, and I honor you for that, and I appreciate that. And again, I'm not asking you to believe anything I said here tonight at all. Find your own truth, find your own religion within yourself. But I appreciate you trying these ideas on, and I honor you for that, for being open-minded enough to try it. Thank you so much. Namaste, y'all. Peace.